Martell halt shocked everyone during his sit-down with his mother, Marlene. What should have been a casual conversation quickly turned into one of the most talked-about moments. Martell did not just casually mention his future with Arionne, he dropped a series of revelations that showed just how deep his relationship with her has grown. He went from talking about real estate and business moves to practically mapping out a long-term future with the same woman who had once been at the center of the storm that ended his marriage. He shared it like it was nothing, sipping his water as though the words were not heavy. But while Martell kept his composure, his mother's reaction told another story. The first big shock was Martell announcing that he was moving Arionne into one of his properties. He explained that her lease was ending, so it only made sense for her to move into a house he already owned. To him, this was a financial decision. Instead of her scrambling to find another rental, he was stepping in and providing stability. But the emotional side of that choice cannot be ignored. For viewers, this was not just a man helping out the mother of his child. This was Martell giving Arionne a major position in his life. By placing her in his own property, he was making her presence permanent, and that carried a heavy message. Martell quickly followed that up by saying he would not be moving in with her. He insisted that until she had a ring, he was not going to share a home with her. He described himself as traditional, saying marriage comes before living together. This statement alone left people stunned because of the obvious contradiction. Martell is the same man whose long affair with Arionne destroyed his marriage to Melody. For years, he had no problem breaking vows, stepping outside of tradition, and creating chaos in the process. But now, suddenly, he was speaking about morals and boundaries. The irony was not lost on anyone, especially Marlene. Martell's way of describing Arionne as a good woman he could see himself marrying one day raised even more eyebrows. On paper, it may sound romantic. But in reality, it was layered with controversy. This so-called good woman was the same one who had been tied to his biggest scandal. Their relationship had been no secret. Everyone knew she had been the other woman during his marriage. Now, he was trying to frame her as a possible wife, the woman he wanted to build a future with, and that shift was almost too much for people to take seriously. Marlene, however, did not shout or get emotional. She did not raise her voice or try to stop him. Instead, she smiled, she nodded, and she kept her responses calm. But beneath that calmness, her words carried weight. She admitted openly that when Martell's marriage ended and Arionne entered the picture, she was devastated. She cried. She said she had not expected her son's relationship with Melody to fall apart the way it did. Melody was not just a wife to Martell, she was family to Marlene as well. Losing her was painful. And Marlene's honesty about those tears revealed just how deeply that divorce had hurt her. Eventually, Marlene warmed up to Arionne enough to have her over for dinners. On the surface, this looked like acceptance. But even in her openness, you could sense the pain had never truly gone away. She was managing the situation, not fully embracing it. Then came the line that shook the room. Marlene said that Arionne had gone through a lot to get Martell. She slipped it into the conversation casually, almost like it was nothing, but the impact was powerful. Everyone who heard it knew exactly what she meant, that lot was not just about struggles. It was a subtle reference to the years Arionne spent as the hidden woman. It was about late-night calls, secrecy, arguments, and the scandal that surrounded their affair. Marlene's words highlighted that Arionne did not arrive easily into Martell's life. She fought, she pushed, she clawed her way into the relationship, even as it tore another family apart. For Marlene to say it out loud, even lightly, was a reminder that she had not forgotten the pain, and she was not going to sugarcoat Arionne's past role. Martell's reaction was priceless. He turned his head slightly, his face tightened just a little, but he did not interrupt. He did not laugh. He did not defend. His silence, however, spoke volumes. It was the kind of look that suggested he would have words for his mother later, once the cameras were off. Because Martell is known for being very careful about his image. He cares about how he is perceived, not just on television but in real life. He works hard to control narratives, to present himself in a certain light. So, when his mother casually threw a shade-filled truth into the mix, it was clear it rattled him. Marlene did not stop there. When Martell spoke about paying Arionne's bills, the air shifted again. He presented it as though he was proud of himself. He wanted acknowledgement for stepping up and supporting the mother of his child. To him, this was proof he was a responsible man, taking care of his duties. But Marlene's quiet reaction made it clear she was not as impressed as he wanted her to be. She did not clap, she did not praise him. Instead, she listened, and her silence said it all. Of the issue with Martell paying Arionne's daily expenses was not just about money. On the surface, yes, it looked like support. But underneath, it looked like control. By covering her bills, Martell kept her financially tied to him. It created dependency. She was in his property, with her expenses handled by him. That meant she was in a bubble where Martell's influence was heavy. To outsiders, it looked less like love and more like leverage. Marlene understood this, even if she did not call it out directly. She has known Martell his entire life. She has seen him behind closed doors, in his best and worst moments. She knows when he is spinning an image versus when he is being sincere. So when he framed his financial support as noble, Marlene sat there with the face of a woman who was not buying it. She allowed him to talk, but her eyes and her silence carried the weight of truth. The conversation also revealed how much Marlene still cared for Melody. Her voice softened when she spoke about her. The love she had for Melody had not disappeared. Even if she said she had accepted Arionne, the acceptance was more about peace than love. She used words like nice to describe Arionne. But nice was neutral. It was polite. It was not glowing or affectionate. It was the kind of word you use when you do not want to be rude but also do not want to give full approval. That choice of words revealed everything. Marlene's restraint during the conversation was striking. She did not cheer for Martell's idea of marrying Arionne. She did not ask him when he was going to propose. She did not gush over the possibility of them building a future together. Instead, she remained measured. That lack of excitement was louder than any criticism. It showed that deep down, she did not support the direction he was heading in. She may have tolerated it, but she was not celebrating it. Even as Martell described himself as traditional, Marlene knew the truth. His actions contradicted his words. He claimed he would not live with Arionne until marriage, but he was giving her a home and covering her bills like they were already joined. That contradiction made his entire claim of being traditional sound empty. And Marlene's face reflected that disbelief without her needing to say a word. The ghost of Melody lingered in every part of the conversation. Her presence was there even when her name was not. Marlene's sadness about the divorce and her careful way of handling Arionne showed that she still carried loyalty to Melody. Losing her as a daughter-in-law was not just about Martell's marriage ending. It was about losing a family structure she believed in. And no matter how Martell tried to rebuild with Arionne, Marlene's heart was still tied to what once was of her. Arionne, this must have been uncomfortable. Even as she receives a house, daily expenses, and talk of marriage, she cannot escape the quiet reminders that she is not fully accepted. She may sit at the table, but the seat is cold. Every nod from Marlene, every calm smile, feels layered with unspoken judgment. She is present, but she is not embraced. And that reality is clear to everyone watching. This conversation was more than just a family moment. It was a power struggle without raised voices. Martell tried to paint himself as a provider, a traditional man planning a secure future. But Marlene shifted the energy with her subtle comments, her careful silences, and her refusal to celebrate his choices. She held the power without forcing it. She reminded him that mothers know the truth, even when sons try to cover it up. Martell may believe he is in control of the narrative, but Marlene reminded everyone that she has lived through all of it. She saw the pain, she witnessed the destruction, and she remembers every moment. Her fire does not come through shouting, it comes through truth wrapped in quiet words. When she said Arionne went through a lot, that was her way of exposing history in a single sentence. The entire exchange left fans buzzing. Some saw Martell as trying to prove himself, while others saw him as trapped in contradictions. Many praised Marlene for holding her ground with class. She did not argue, but she did not surrender either. Her calm presence carried more weight than any shouting match could. And her loyalty to Melody, even if subtle, showed through every line she spoke.